And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot, live here on the GRYD Network's YouTube and X account, as well as my personal IG account on Carving Up Podcast. I am back as the host of the All Even Podcast. My name is Bryson Carver. It is great to be with you with three fantastic panelists on screen. One of them is like low-key crashing out right now, middle of the screen. I'll start with him. I'll get to you in a second, Paris. Barry, what's going on, dude?
First off, you said that you're the host of the All Even Podcast, so maybe you have to tell me something that I don't know. So, if you're taking over my show, then that's great because I could be able to go on vacation for the next 9 months if possible. So that's all I'm saying. Like, if you're going to do that, we can talk about it. But
man, listen. I can fill in if you need me to from time to time, buddy. I'm
not going to kick you back in today. All right, you're just coming back. All right, welcome back. Respect to you. Respect to everybody here. Hopefully, I can get a win, or hopefully, I don't get eliminated early. So that's the only reason why I'm here.
Well, we'll get into the rules and the regulations for anyone that's new to the show. But I think that's I should just dock myself at points because I am on the leaderboard this season. So that was brutal. But Barry Grant Jr., who is the actual host of the All Even Podcast, he was joining us. Paris Brown is joining the show as well. Number 2 on our point total scoreboard. Paris is a diehard Pacers fan. They're up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 4 starting right now or something, and he's taking time out of his day to be a part of this. So shout out to you, Paris. How you doing tonight, my man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm ready to be nervous for the next hour, 2 hours, because that's all it is watching the Knicks Pacers game. It's just nervous. It was nervous all last year watching the games. It's nervous all this year watching games. So that's what I'm here for.
Listen, we talk about 20-point comebacks. These that we talk about before the show. Like, these are the two teams that are kind of known for that. These whole playoffs will obviously get into Pacers Knicks later on. Arthur Hurst, who is by a country mile the point total leader on the 8 o'clock spot. Arthur, how are you tonight, my man?
Yo, welcome back, BC. How we doing, man? I'm excited. I haven't been in here in a minute. It's like I missed home, right? I feel like I'm back at home, so I got to get back to, taking this W and kicking some ass and then going back into hiding for a little bit.
Yeah, no, listen, he's been, the fact that he's been missing as long as he has been, and it still has this gargantuan lead, shows you how dominant Arthur has been this season. Like, one could say he's been a little bit of like a 2024 Ohio State run right now, right? Like, I mean, I'm telling you, you're replicating your Buckeyes. Also, before we get into topics, I just want to say this super quick. Biggest shout out in the world to our friend, the host of the Metropolitan Report podcast, Alfred Parsard Jr., who hosts the show, majority of the shows in my absence these last 4 months. Alfred did a fantastic job. Hopefully, we can get him back on the show before the season is over at the conclusion of the NBA Finals. But shout out to Alfred. He did a fantastic job while I was gone. A couple of comments. Our guy Patrick is in the comments. He of course, he is rooting on for Barry Grant Jr. Mr. 100K is him. Let's get the win. So we know he's pulling for, again, the real host of the All Even Podcast, not the faux fill-in host that I claim to be just for a second to start this show. Let's get into our rules for the 8 o'clock spot. So we can pull this up here. The best take for each segment gets 5 points. The second best take gets 3 points. The third best take gets 1 point. We'll go to our leaderboard quickly before we move on to our topics here. As you can see, Arthur Hurst with a gargantuan lead in our point total, followed by Paris Brown, Mike Guido, Dylan Lima just behind Mike and for that number 3 spot. There's Barry Grant Jr. at 5, Tyler Reddington, Tim Barnard, Kieran Glenn, myself. I won a show right before I left. There's Alfred Parsard Jr., Asher Moore, Eric Van Linton, Eric Ruiz, and EJ Savage at the bottom of the list. Let's transition now to our first topic in the National Basketball Association. Game 4, Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves. The Thunder take a 3-1 series lead with a 128-126 win in Game 4 of that series. They've been on a dominant run, 68 wins. We understand Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in my mind at least, a deserving league MVP. We'll start with you, Paris, to begin this segment. Your thoughts right now on Oklahoma City, this dominant regular season and postseason that they've had, even despite the 7-game scare against Denver. Do you think at this point, with obviously your Pacers, the Knicks, and if the Timberwolves pull off a miracle, do you think that there's anyone on the board that can beat Oklahoma City 4 times in 7 tries at this point?
I mean, the Thunder by far are the team to beat right now. And I mean, they have the best player left in the playoffs in Shai. Even if I don't like how often he gets fouls and how he really tries to bait the foul calls, you can't doubt he's the best player left in this NBA playoff. So they are the team to beat. Obviously, the two teams in the East with the Pacers and Knicks, both of them are very gritty teams. As we talked about, they both can come back by 20 points. The Knicks did it, to the Celtics in Boston twice. We did it to the number 1 seed Cavs. So we're really gritty teams. Obviously, with all the confidence I have in the Pacers, I believe anybody in 7 games with the Pacers have a chance because no team wants to run with the Pacers in a full 7-game series. The Thunder are a very young team, so they could potentially keep up, but they don't play like that. They don't play a fast-paced game. They slow the ball down. The Pacers continually run up and down the court the entire game, no matter who's on the court. So 7-game series, that's why I really like the Pacers. It's just going to be hard to keep up with them in a complete 7 games where you have to play all 40 minutes every single game, no matter what the score is. You could be up by 20 points in the third, fourth quarter. We can still come back. So in a 7-game series, I'm still taking my Pacers as they could put a big run on the Thunder, but the Thunder are the team to beat. And when you have the best player left in the playoffs, you have to give it. Everybody has to bring it all the entire game to beat a team like that.
And to your point, sort of Shea's unbelievable in the MVP of the league, but the depth that they bring to the table. I mean, I think Shea, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams, who was awesome in that game 4 win last night. They score more points combined, 95, than any game that the old or young Big Three Thunder did. KD, Westbrook, and Harden ever did in any game in their postseason career. So it's the depth that Oklahoma City brings to the table that makes them as scary as they do. Bringing Barry Grant Jr. to the table. Barry, I know you are a big SGA fan and have been for some time. He's been on an outstanding run these playoffs. By the way, for the record, his stat line, 40, 10, and 9. I was shocked to hear I know he hasn't played a ton of playoff games, but his very first 40-point playoff game. Do you think there's anybody left, Knicks, Pacers, or by some miracle Timberwolves, that could knock out the Oklahoma City Thunder, deny them a championship?
No. I had picked the Oklahoma City Thunder very early on to get to the NBA Finals just because I think that they were the most complete team in these playoffs. And what I mean by complete is that they play a style of basketball that is very, very unique, just like the Pacers, right? Offensively, but they play a unique style of basketball defensively that no one plays in the league. They play physical. They are switchy. But the best thing that I see them do is that they frustrate guards because they fight over screens. They don't do exactly what everybody else does in the league in regards to just allow the switch to happen. They make sure that the switches don't happen, and they don't switch hunt on offense, and they don't switch hunt. They just don't give into the switches on defense. They make you have to play offense. They make you have to make plays. They make Anthony Edwards have to exert so much more energy on the offensive end. Julius Randle doesn't have anybody to pick around. He'd be damned if he tried to pick on Lou Dort. It's not going to happen, right? So these guys play a physical style of basketball that not everybody who's left does. And if they do end up winning the championship, you're going to see that there's going to be a copycat league type of situation where guys are going to try to match up with this particular team and try to mold their team like the Oklahoma City Thunder in regards to getting long, rangy wing defenders that are very tough and that really, really force the action defensively. So to answer your question, I just think that they're the most complete and better team and best team left.
There's almost a level of, and obviously we're not comparing Shea to this player in terms of accomplishments, obviously, but there's almost a little bit of a 90s Bulls feel to this, where obviously you had the superstar SGA Michael Jordan, but because I've heard some comparisons like, this is the best defensive team we've seen since like Chauncey Billups' 04 Pistons, but that was a defensive team mostly built on bigs, whereas the Bulls they never really had a dominant center, a really good defensive center. They just had a bunch of wings that could throw at you on the perimeter, Scottie Pippen being chief among them. So I think there's a real similarity between those two. I think you make a good point. Like it's going to be hard to see a team playing the style that they play, knocking them off at this stage in the game. Finally, bringing Arthur Hurst to this segment. Arthur, do you think anybody can knock out the Thunder at this point in the postseason? Anyone left?
The only team that can knock out the Oklahoma City Thunder is the Oklahoma City Thunder. As long as they don't get in their way, as long as they don't let their as long as they just stick to the game plan. And they've done a pretty good job of that. They've had some miscalculations, some loose times this playoffs where it was like, you know what? Kind of like they did in that game where, you and I have this beef where you foul up 3 late and you hope to, just run the clock out and Aaron Gordon hits the game-winning 3 to win that game. But other than that, they've been doing very well defensively. They've been doing very well offensively. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing out of his mind. And when you have Jalen Williams playing well like he does, when you have Chet Holmgren playing well like he does, when that team is able to just make shots, add in the fact that they're the best team defense in the NBA, nobody can stop them. Coach Daigneault and his coaching staff have done a tremendous job with that team, making sure that they put them in the positions they need to be successful offensively and defensively. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has, this 2000s game where he gets to his spots in the mid-range and he drives the ball, dang near 20 times a game. So he's going to get a lot of foul calls and that whistle is going to blow for him. It's kind of funny how there was a basketball player just a few years ago by the name of James Harden when he was in his prime playing for the Houston Rockets, who kind of played this same way, but he was more reliable on the 3. But when it came to the postseason, he didn't really get those foul calls. But we see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who you can make an argument he's not at the level of James Harden in his prime. He's getting all these foul calls. So it's like, wait a second, like NBA, what's going on that James Harden couldn't get those calls, but Gilgeous-Alexander can? But all in all, I believe the OKC Thunder are definitely the best team left in this playoffs. The Timberwolves, as we say, pressure makes diamonds or bust pipes. And right now, the Timberwolves look like a pipe that's about to bust, and OKC Thunder are able to do something that they haven't done since 2012.
No question about it. And I loved your first line. The only team that can beat Oklahoma City at this point is Oklahoma City, where it's like, okay, if both teams play their A game over the course, up and down, of course, of a 7-game series, I mean, that's the name of the game, beating a team 4 times in 7 tries. And because of how great they've been defensively all season long, it's going to be very difficult to do that. So let's go ahead and bring everybody back into the fold. Again, still getting back used to the controls of this show as the host. Barry, I thought, had the best take of that segment as he broke down the fact that this team does not switch hunt the way that's kind of been the modern NBA defense that I think the Warriors in some ways kind of invented about 10 years ago, where they could just throw so many defenders at you. Like, it didn't really matter. Was Oklahoma City can do the same thing, but they say we're just going to play you straight up and win our matchups, one-on-one matchups. So Barry Grant Jr. had the best segment, followed by Arthur Hurst at 3 points and Paris Brown at 1 point. By the way, as we are live right now, Paris's Pacers have a lead over the Knicks. So listen, it could improve from here. Paris, of course, your Pacers could potentially give you that momentum moving forward. We're going to stick with this series, but just go to the other side of it with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who knocked out Barry's Lakers in 5 games in the first round, knocked out my Warriors in 5 games in the second round, and now have themselves in a position where they could lose in 5 games to Oklahoma City. The real discussion right now has been the play of Anthony Edwards, who in this game only took 2 shots in the first half, and over the course of this basketball game only shot 5 for 13 from the field and scored 16 points in a game that the Minnesota Timberwolves simply had to have. I will start with you, Barry, because there's been a discussion, really, I feel like the second half of the season. Okay, Bron's getting older, Steph's getting older, Katie's getting older. Who's going to be the face of the league? And Ant has been really, at least certainly among American players, like the number 1 pick of that group. Do you think his case for that title has taken a little bit of a hit throughout this series?
No, I don't, because here's the thing with basketball is that there's a progression that needs to happen. Yeah, they got to the Western Conference Finals last year, right? But did we really think that they were going to get there? I think he's at the cusp in his career where he can be able to ascend, but I still don't think he's there yet. I just think that he has the tools, he has the skill set, but matchups matter, right? And sometimes you just go against a team that's just better than you. Sometimes you go against a team that can be able to frustrate you more than anybody that you've seen this season, right? We just talked about it in the last round in regards to teams like to switch hunt. The Minnesota Timberwolves are one of the highest teams that love to switch hunt. They love to try to get those individual matchups and try to do what they do. You can't do that against Oklahoma City. So I don't care how good Anthony Edwards is. He's going to have to develop his game a little bit more, stop shooting so much in regards to taking bad shots, and also work on some things to be able to get him to the next level. So he's still at the, he can still have a chance to ascend. He's just not there yet, and it's okay. He's still a young guy, but, this was just a bad matchup and kind of put his deficiencies out there a little bit. Star players, they end up having bad series sometimes. It just sucks that it's in the Western Conference Finals and everybody's watching it, right? It normally happens within the first round, second round, a couple of games here and there. But, when you fail with the last four, the way he's doing right now, he's going to come back strong because of it. So I think that this might actually propel him to where he needs to be more than hurt him in the long run.
I tend to agree with you, and I don't like what I'm hearing from some folks out there that almost seem to be questioning his level of seriousness as it relates to his work ethic, right? Like, I don't like what's going around with that, because if you remember last year, what did Anthony Edwards, I'll tell you one thing I like about Ant. He is very transparent. He tells you exactly what's on his mind, how he's feeling physically, mentally, all of it. Last year, if you remember during the series against Dallas, he said, man, I'm gassed. Like, I do not have the energy left in the tank to go. That's not a problem this year. He improved his three-point shot. He was in terms of number of three-pointers made, the best shooter in the league this year. So I think just in terms of his offensive game overall, I think he's going to find a way to improve over the course of his career. So I do tend to agree with Barry there. Transition now to Arthur. Now, your thoughts on Anthony Edwards. Do you think his sort of face of the league campaign, or at least his push to be that, maybe if he doesn't necessarily want that, but how we perceive him as such, do you think that has taken a hit throughout the course of maybe his inconsistency in the playoffs and in the Western Conference Finals?
No, not at all. It's literally set up for him, right? You'd go back to what happened in FIBA, where he's coming off the bench and Steve Kerr tells him, Dwayne Wade came off the bench and all this stuff. But, Anthony Edwards is like, well, we don't have anybody on this team up to that level. So why am I being the one getting punished? And you can make the argument, you can make a case that he was the best player on that team. And then you go back to this past summer with the Olympics. He was a rising star in the Olympics. He had games and moments where he shined and he really helped the team pull through. And then when you beat the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games and LeBron James says, hey, it's your time. Take it. Like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, all have given him sort of this like this rite of passage. Is like, yo, it's yours. Do you want it? Right. And I believe that Anthony Edwards really wants it. But he doesn't want the extra politics, the extra BS that comes with it. He alluded to that earlier this season. He's like, why would I want to be the face of the league when y'all say this and y'all say that and I'm getting criticized and da-da-da-da-da. And LeBron James, who has been the face of the league for the last decade plus, he was like, yeah, like, I understand. You see the same thing with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Although that's an entirely different thing in her sport, right? She's still, you could say, the face of the WNBA right now. So Anthony Edwards, his campaign for face of the league is not hurt, despite his inconsistent play in these playoffs. I believe he wants it. I believe he's still going to get that. He's just got to earn it. He's got to go get it, right? And you're going to have, your ups and downs. Everybody has them. And we've gotten to a point in sports where we don't allow the greats or people that we think are going to be great to have their lows. Every great player had their lows. They didn't just have a high. I don't know when we have this thing where in life it's all about the good and the bad just non-existent. That's not reality. So Anthony Edwards is right now going through a low. He'll be just fine, and he'll come back on top. And when it's his time to take the mantle as the face of the league, he'll be ready. He'll be ready for it. He'll earn it, and everybody's just going to have to get in line.
I think you sort of detailed a problem that isn't just present in how we view sports, but how we view everything in life. We live in the social media, TikTok age. We tend to live in a microwave society. I want it done quickly without any sort of adversity or bumps in the road, and that's just not reality as we know. Here we go. Look, sorry, I was dealing with some mic issues there. And what I was saying, though, is the bumps road that comes with the ascension there is, I do think we've seen some improvement from Ant. Like, again, this is a Timberwolves team that I don't think is good as the one that there was last year. Respect to Julius Randle, but he's not Cat. And Anthony Edwards was still able to get them there, albeit in a different form. So I think finding different ways to impact the game, I think he's shown us that. So I do tend to agree with you, Arthur, on that front. Finishing with you, Paris, on this segment, do you think Ant Edwards' face of the league case, or at least for the future, has taken a hit because of his performance in the Western Conference Finals?
I don't believe it's taken a hit. I believe there's just such a strong push that we're really trying to find who's going to be the next face of the league. I mean, we've had one for so long. LeBron had it has had it for such a long time. I feel for a good while it was two faces of the league. You know, you had your Curry and your LeBron, and them two were your two faces of the league. But with how that works, them two are the faces because of, one, they were facing each other in the finals all the time, and two, they were by far the best players. LeBron was the best kind of all-around player who could do everything. Curry was the best three-point shooter we've ever seen, and his team was always making it. But those always came naturally. You know, LeBron naturally was the face of the league. You know, everybody had the hype that he was going to be good, and he became better than what the hype was, and so he became the face of the league. Curry, everybody, you know, he was like, they were like, you know, he's a good three-point shooter, but there was no, like, hype for him to be this great player. Then he became this all-time shooter and became the face of the league. It happens naturally. With Ant, it's like everybody's trying to force him to be the face of the league. So when anything goes wrong, they're like, oh, well, maybe he's not the face of the league. And there's a lot of talk about, oh, Ant plays just like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the face of the league. He should be the face of the league. It's just they're trying to push it onto him so hard that any little blemish that happens or anything that goes wrong with him, it's going to seem like it's setting him back. I don't think it's setting him back. I just think there's a lot of people wanting to become the face of the league. People wanted to be Jason Tatum for a little bit, and then people said everybody said he's corny, and now he's injured, now he didn't make it. People want Ant because of his his personality. He's a good player. Now you see Shai taking over in the league. Jokic has been a star, but nobody wants him to be the face of the league just because basketball isn't the thing he cares about. So nobody wants him to be the star, the face of the league. But he might be the best player in the league so far. So it's just such a hard push to try and get somebody to be the face of the league that they're trying to push it so hard onto Ant, which you just got to let it come naturally. I believe he can become the face of the league, just like everybody else said. He's having a rough series, but he comes back next year. They've gotten better every single year with him on that team. They've gotten further every single year. This year, they got to the same spot. They lose. If they get there again next year with even a better team, who knows? He steps up. He knows how to face that team. He beats that team. Next thing you know, he's the face of the league. But you got to let it naturally happen.
I couldn't agree more with you on that statement. I think a lot of it has to do with what you said in terms of the Jordan comparisons, because you do see sort of the flair, how he finishes at the rim, his game, like his swagger is very reminiscent. Heck, he even kind of looks like a young Jordan. Yeah. I think it's because of the toxicity with the GOAT discussion, who's better, LeBron or Jordan, and how we tend to nitpick every single guy who doesn't quite reach the heights of, I don't know, arguably the greatest player in the history of the sport. Now all of a sudden we don't think he can live up to our expectations or what you had any preconceived notions of him being. So I do tend to agree with you, Paris. And to bring Barry and Arthur back in the mix, I'm going to give Paris the best take of the segment, get him up to 6 points here. I told you you'd bounce back. You came out on fire that segment. Barry had the second best take. He has the lead still at 8 points. Arthur Hurst at 4 points. So put that up. So we got Barry at 8, Paris at 6, Arthur at 4. So we got a tightly contested second round as we go into our third round here on the 8 o'clock spot. Glad everybody tuned in. Feel free to chime into the comment section. Transition now to a game that's in a series that's being played right now as we speak. The Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. Pacers lead right now 2-1 in that series. And this has been a really fascinating matchup, not just because of the 90s back and forth between the Ewing Knicks and the Reggie Miller Pacers, but these two guards who faced each other last year in the postseason. Knicks were beat up. Pacers able to get the job done. Brunson wins Clutch Player of the Year this season, but Haliburton has been, off the charts as it pertains to last second, game tie or game winning shots in these spots. And I find it, kind of an interesting question about who's the more clutch player. So I'll start here with you, Arthur. Of these two, if you said, okay, last shot of the game, and this is maybe not a question that most people tend to pose. We think about Steph and we think about all these guys, Edwards and Bron and KD. Last shot of the game, who you taking? Tyrese Haliburton of the Pacers, Jalen Brunson of the Knicks. Who you got, Arthur?
In the 28 clutch games that Jalen Brunson played this year, the New York Knicks went 17-11. I get it though. Tyrese Haliburton has been clutch. He's been on fire. He's put his team in winning positions numerous times this postseason. Had a game winner against Giannis in Milwaukee to win that series. He had the 2 to put them into overtime in Madison Square Garden where they ultimately won that game. I get it. But, dog, we can't take this moment and try to compare it to the entire year that Jalen Brunson has had. Add in the fact that the ball is always in Brunson's hands, and he has to do a better job of getting it out of his hands and making sure that when it's time for him to turn into that clutch player, he's not gassed. The defense is not so worried about him. They're trying to be worried about somebody else, like a Karl Anthony Towns, who went off for 20 points in the fourth quarter. And that gives Jalen Brunson enough energy to be able to go down and do what he needs to do and close out games. And Haliburton is not the only closer on the court for the Indiana Pacers. But again, I get it. Haliburton, he's outshined Brunson right so far in special moments in these playoffs and in this series. So I get why this is a conversation or why it would be a question. But again, you can't compare the moments that Tyrese Haliburton has had in these playoffs to the entire year that Jalen Brunson, whenever the New York Knicks have needed him to make a shot or to make shots or have possessions where they needed him to close, he has closed. He won the 2025 NBA Clutch of the Year award for the reason, because he was the best closer in the National Basketball Association, Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. So let Tyrese Haliburton have his moment, but let's not be unfair to Jalen Brunson and the entire clutch year he's had this season.
I like where you took that, where it's because these clutch games, as you mentioned, the Knicks being 17-11, clutch games, for those that don't know, last 5 minutes, if the score is within 5 points or less, that is a clutch game. And it's sort of the down the stretch of games as opposed to just the last shot of the game, where Haliburton has been the best player in the league, whereas Brunson, breadth of these clutch games, has been the better player, and that's why he won the Clutch Player of the Year award, as you mentioned. So I think Arthur with a good take there. Moving on to Paris, I have a feeling where he's going to go, but I'm curious the case that he's going to make. He is the Pacers guy. Your thoughts on this, Paris? Who would you take, Clutch Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson, or best last shot taker and maker in Tyrese Haliburton? Who would you take as the more clutch player of the two?
So you got to give all the credit to Jalen Brunson. I mean, the year he's had, he won the most clutch player of the year for a reason. In those moments, he is the guy that you want to have the ball, and he normally has the ball in his hand in those situations. And he is a great player. I'm watching the series right now, and when his fadeaway shot mid-range, almost unguardable. There's literally half the time, there's not even half the time, 90% of the time, there's nothing you can do in those defensive situations to stop the shot. But here's my thing of why I like Haliburton and why I'm taking Haliburton. Haliburton isn't a scoring first point guard. Jalen Brunson is. So Jalen Brunson, not only is he going to have the ball in his hands, he creates a shot all the time. He knows how to do that. Tyrese Haliburton's not that type of guy. He is a pass first type of guy, but then all of a sudden, once it's a clutch situation, he becomes a great shooter. Yes, Jalen Brunson's had more opportunities. He's 17 of 28. Haliburton's only at 14, but he's made 12 out of those 14 times. It's not Haliburton's fault they're not in that situation. The Pacers are just closing out better, not in those situations as often as the Knicks are. Also, the Knicks are a New York team. You're going to see them on TV no matter who they're facing. The Pacers, nobody even wanted to say the Pacers were good until, the playoffs, and we started beating the Bucks and we started beating the Cavs. Nobody even mentioned the Pacers. So nobody was paying attention to what Tyrese Haliburton was doing in the first place. So I'm taking Tyrese Haliburton. Again, 12 for 14. As I get it, he's 17 for 28. But for Haliburton to be at that spot, that means in his next 14 shots in those last moments, he only needs to make 5 of them. And he's made 12 out of 14. He's shooting 107% effectively in those situations. I get it. Brunson's had more opportunities, but Haliburton has made his opportunities, his chances matter more than Brunson has.
That's a fair case, and I think that's why I have labeled Haliburton currently as Mr. Clutch, as the most clutch player in the NBA, is that you do have a situation where he can do it any way he wants. Like it was a layup against the Bucks. It was in the last 2 series. He had the mid-range shot, then brought it back out, and then shot a 3. In one case to win the game, and in the other case to send it to overtime where the Pacers won. Sure, go ahead.
And Brunson's had his 2 chances this game, and he missed both of them. I mean, first one was an air ball, and the second one, you can kind of say the coach should have called a timeout, but he pulled it with 10 seconds left. There was no need to be doing that right then.
No, he rushed it. There's no question about that. And I think that's the case you can make, given especially on this series, at least certainly head to head, you can certainly give the pretty sizable advantage to Tyrese Haliburton. We'll see if this series continues to play out. Right now, I'm looking at the box score, and both guys are off to a pretty hot start. So we'll see how the game 4 continues to play out. Finishing now with Barry Grant Jr. Your thoughts on this? I know you're a New York guy, but you are a Lakers fan. thoughts on Brunson, Haliburton? Who would you take as a more clutch player overall?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna use the other two guys' points because they made some good points, but the thing is, it's more about stylistically for me. Jalen Brunson has a traditional style of attack, right? Be able to set you up in a triple threat position. He can cross you over, mid range, jump shot, fade away, floater. You step back, whatever it is. But there's something about Tyrese Haliburton that is so unorthodox in regards to how he shoots the basketball. It looks very wonky, right? How he uses his body and contorts his body to be able to get in certain spots. Very wonky. So because of that, I feel that he has more of an advantage in these situations just because of how he can be able to get his shot off. Quick release, weird release, contorting his body, all of these things. So I'm going to go with Tyrese Haliburton. I just think that just because stylistically he keeps people off balance because you don't really understand or know how to guard him the right way. And because of that, you as a defender are always on, you're always guessing. You're trying to figure out what angle to use, how to be able to approach him the right way. It's not a very easy matchup for any defender to be able to try to guard that no matter what time of the game it is. So when he sees that advantage in those clutch moments, he has the green light, he has the confidence, and he knows that he can be able to get his shot off in a very unconventional way that can be able to make sure that he's effective and has a higher percentage of being effective. So I'm going to go with Tyrese Haliburton just on stylistic.
I think so too, because I like the unorthodox aspect you brought to this take, because it is, I mean, there's almost like a hitch in his jumps. Like it's weird. Like it's so consistent. Like he does all the things that you teach your kids as a young shooter not to do, and yet it's effective for him. So I think it's a solid take by Barry. If I can get everybody else back into the mix, get Paris back in here, and get Arthur Hurst. I'm going to give Arthur the best take of the segment, which will get him to 9 points. Barry Grant Jr., I thought the second best take to get him to 11. He is still in the lead, although it has been slightly cut. And Paris Brown at 7 points as well. So it's a nip and tuck 8 o'clock spot going into our final round with all three contestants as we transition into our only sole NFL topic, where last week the NFL put it to a vote, all of the teams to vote on whether or not the infamous Tush Push that the Philadelphia Eagles have run in the last 3 seasons, including their Super Bowl winning season a year ago, whether it would get banned. The Green Bay Packers were essentially the face of this, wanting to get this play banned. And I don't believe in football gods, but man, how ironic that a team that lost 22-10 in the playoff game to Philadelphia, the vote, which needed, for the record, 2/3, 24 teams, in order to get overturned, for this play to get overturned, the Packers, in effect, lost that one as well. 22-10. So there you go. So the Tush Push is here to stay, at least for the 2025 NFL season. Paris, are you happy about it? Are you okay that the NFL decided to keep this thing legal?
I'm honestly glad that they kept it legal. And it's coming from a spot, I don't think, unless you're an Eagles fan, you really don't like the play. I don't like the play. I do hate that, it works so well. But it only works so well for one team. And that's the reason why I'm glad they didn't ban it. And now, if this play, just anybody could run it, and just about any time any team runs it, it works, then I'm like, okay, this play needs to be banned. It's way too easy. It just works perfectly. It works great. But there's only one team that mastered it, and they're the team who, introduced it, and that's the Eagles. They introduced it. They do it. It's coming. There's nothing you can do about it, and their team fits that. I mean, they always have the biggest offensive lineman. They have this QB that can squat 600 pounds. Now they have a running back that can squat 600 pounds. I mean, what are you supposed to do against that? It's their style. How their team is built is for that play to work, and it works perfectly. But when other teams run it, sometimes it looks pretty bad. Teams are getting stopped. They're getting pushed back. The team I thought that could run it really well would be Josh Allen, in the Bills, because they have a huge QB, and they don't even, succeed all the time. There's times they succeed with it, but to me, the Bills are better just calling a regular play and letting Josh Allen run than they are trying to do this Tush Push with Josh Allen. It works better when he's just running around. So for me, I'm just glad they kept it, because it's not a thing where every team is good at it. Just one team is good at it. It gives them an advantage. As if you're facing that team, you just have to not put yourself in that situation. You get yourself in that situation, obviously they're going to do it, and they're most likely going to beat it. But the goal is, don't put yourself in that situation.
The funny thing about the Buffalo aspect, as you mentioned, is they were actually, I think, 1% better than Philadelphia in the regular season, but infamously in that AFC title game against Kansas City, they was a disaster. There was a fumble. They got stopped on a controversial fourth down. Like it did not work as effectively as Philadelphia, who there was like a design behind it because of Hurts, because of that great O-line. Saquon Barkley is going to come in and push Jalen to get the necessary yardage to move the stick. So I think to your point, like there is a, not just because of the personnel Philadelphia has, but also because of just the creativity behind the way that they do it is just better than the other teams. And I guess at least for this season, other teams are just going to have to keep up, those that do have a bigger quarterback. Getting to Barry Grant Jr. now, thoughts on the tush push remaining as a part of the NFL, particularly a part of the Philadelphia Eagles playbook. Are you okay that this did not get banned?
It's a damn crime. It's a crime. Listen, as a former Dallas Cowboys fan, it disgusts me, right, to see that the tush push continues to wreak havoc around the league, because we all know that nobody can stop this move, can stop this particular play. It sucks. It's terrible to watch. It's bad football. I don't like it on my screen. But in regards to just the fair use and fair play, you have to keep it in, right? As much as I don't like it, you can't ban it just because everybody else is complaining about it and they can't stop it. They got to find a way to be able to stop this or counter it. You have a lot of smart coaches in the NFL. You got a lot of smart assistants out there. Somebody's going to come up with something that is going to be able to make sure that this thing is not as effective as it's been over the last few seasons. Look, we saw when the Wildcat came out, right? Everybody was like, what the hell is going on with the Wildcat? And then people realize how to defend the Wildcat. So they have to go ahead and find that. They got to find ways to be able to counter that, and we'll see what happens. I'm just shocked that 22-10 was the actual vote total. I thought it would have been a little closer than that. But yeah, I'm disappointed. But just like Paris said, just like everybody else said, just like the NFL said, I'm not happy about it, but you have to keep it.
The funny thing about the vote, as you mentioned, is that we understand that 2/3 vote would have overturned the play. 22 teams want this thing gone. Like that's kind of the funny aspect about it, is the not the overwhelming majority, but the majority of the league does not like this play. They want it out. And to your point, like from Philadelphia's perspective, like what are you going to do? Punish us for being good at it? Like that's the fairness aspect. And then I think you have a very similar take to me in that it's an awful play to watch. And especially to Paris's point, if other teams were more successful, I think there's no question it would have been banned before now. So a solid take there by Barry. Finishing with Arthur now before we get into our final scoring. Should the tush push have gotten banned? Are you happy that they kept it? What was your thought on the vote that just barely allows the Philadelphia Eagles to run this infamous play?
Man, when I see Jalen Hurts line up behind all those linemen and Saquon Barkley line up behind them on that goal line, I love it. Hey, who's got the better line? The defense or the Philadelphia Eagles? And so far, it's been the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're getting mad or we're frustrated because they are the only team that's able to do this at the level they're able to do it. Let's say when the Legion of Boom happened, right? Because Barry got cute, brought up the Wildcat play. Legion of Boom with the Seattle Seahawks. They were a great defense, but their cover three was literally unstoppable. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner. Like you could not get through that level of speed, discipline, high IQ that defense had. Imagine if the NFL was like, you know what? We can't take this anymore. Everybody can play cover three, yeah, but not like that. So you know what? Can we ban it, please? We're tired of seeing those guys just kill our offense. We can't move the ball down the field. We can't throw it here. We can't throw it there. So can we just ban the cover three defense, please? Do you know how idiotic that sounds? Because one team is so great at it and everybody else is just, you know what? We're not on that level. Because as in life, in a lot of things, there's levels to everything. And it's just a matter of fact that the Philadelphia Eagles are at a level with a goal line play that nobody else is at. We have a great, big, strong quarterback with the best offensive line and one of the best running backs, strongest running backs in the league to push him forward. We are going to destroy your defensive line. If you look in the Super Bowl, Chris Jones, he was doing neck exercises because they kicked their butt on that tush push. And you could see him wince. That hurt. Because, hey, man, yeah, it's a hurt play. But if you're going to stop them from scoring that touchdown, you better put all your might. You better put all that strength. And you better not get pushed back. You better push back. So, yeah, nah, man, I don't want to hear, yes, it's a bad play to watch. And man, look, if you can't stop them, right, then I don't want to hear any complaining. It was the same thing with Cam Newton. If you can't stop the man from getting in the daggone touchdown, then I don't want to hear you complaining. Let the man dab, let him dance, let him look pretty all he wants. All right, just stop it. If you can stop it, then cool. If you can't, then just be quiet because you got punished.
It sounds like your entire case is they just have better players than you, and that's why they run it better. Like it's again from a personnel perspective, that has been the reality for Philadelphia, as we just mentioned with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Josh Allen is generally a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, but obviously from a physicality perspective, pound for pound, Hurts is the stronger player. Philly is the better offensive line. Saquon Barkley adds it as well. If we can bring Paris and Barry back into this mix, the way that this thing is scored, I gave Paris the best take because I thought the Buffalo Bills point was interesting. Arthur Hurst goes at the second best take at 12 points, and Barry gets 1 point for the worst take at 12 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a three-way tie. So we're going to go in the final round with all three guys as a part of the mix. And I welcome back, I guess, to me, getting everybody back in the final round. This should be fun because our final round rules are as follows. Pretty simple. The best take is 10 points and wins the game. It is that simple if you want to win this week's edition and every edition of the 8 o'clock spot here in season 2. Bring up this conversation because I thought a guy I have a lot of respect for in this business, Nick Wright, had a freaking brilliant take yesterday on his show, First Things First, that, hey, if you want to fix something that's kind of become annoying aesthetically to NBA fans, where players are constantly doing the finger sirens every time they disagree with the call, they want the play challenge. Basically, Nick's take was, hey, make that the equivalent of if a guy calls a timeout. If he does the timeout sign, automatic timeout, make that the same case with challenges. That will instantly decrease players doing that, because it does get annoying if guys are constantly just like, oh, every single play I disagree with, want you to review it, and it becomes harder for the coaches. It's a mess. I'll start with you, Paris. You're a commissioner of a sports league, any league, NFL, NBA, WNBA, NHL, baseball, anywhere, any league. What is one rule you could change? If you could pick one rule that you could change, it would be...
So I'm going to say something that you're not going to like me because we had this topic, but I'm changing this whole let's start fouling people when we're up to make sure they can't hit a three. And I'm making it how they did with the transition take foul and, what they would do with the hack and shack foul. If you're up and you're starting to intentionally foul, they get that one free throw plus they get the ball. Because one, I hate that style of play. Two, it really ruins the game at the end because you really live to see these last game moments, these last 30 seconds, last minute of a game. Who's going to take the last shot? Who can play the better defense? Who has the better players? And then instead it just goes to who can hit more free throws? Who's the better free throw shooter? And you're just sitting there watching, guy get the ball, get fouled. Here goes 2 free throws. Let's hope he makes it. And that's how the end of the last game it goes. And not only that, instead of having a 30-second or 45-second end of the game, this last 45 seconds lasted another 3, 4, 5 minutes. Because we have to sit here and just watch free throw after free throw after free throw. I'm getting rid of that. If you're up if you're up at the end of the game and you're intentionally fouling, if you foul, that's fine. People are going to get fouled, but you're intentionally fouling somebody. I'm putting that rule in as they get that one free throw and they get the ball back. You have to play defense. This is a offense versus defensive league. You play your man. You guard your man. You find your defensive schemes. Why are we fouling? That to me, that shows, I'm scared. I'm scared to guard this person at the last shot because I'm gonna go foul him so he doesn't make the shot on me. That's a weak move. That's weak to me. Play your defense. If he makes that shot, if you play great, the best defense you can imagine, and he makes that shot, he makes the shot. What are the odds he's gonna make that shot every time? But that's how basketball should be played. That's how we want to see basketball played. That's what we come to watch these games for. Not to come to watch the very end of the game, the last 30 seconds. Now we got to sit here for 5 minutes just to hope as these people start missing free throws. I hate it.
You're going to be shocked when I say this, but as it relates to that getting banned, I don't necessarily disagree with you. My thing is, as the strategy currently exists, as it is currently legal, I think that it's almost akin to the baseball rule that came in not very long ago, where extra inning rule, you get an automatic man on second. And our guy Mike Guido went on an all-time rant on this in the Bicoastal Baseball podcast, where he was basically saying, hey, the New York Yankees are playing a baseball game and there's a man on second, Judge is up. It makes perfect sense to walk Judge. You're not going to give the guy who's darn near batting 400, one of the two best players in baseball, a chance to kill you. But at the same time, if bases are empty, you probably still walk him anyway, but you're certainly going to do so if there's a man on second to create the force out. We know that. I think a similar situation appears in the NBA, where, as you said, it's kind of what we talked about last segment with the tush push. It's not good television. It's not fun to watch, like you said, a free throw competition the last 30 seconds. My take, and I've argued with you and with Arthur on this, that fouling up three, it gives you a long-term the best chance to win. But I agree with you. From an on-TV perspective, it's not that fun to watch. So I think that's a solid take there by Paris. Barry Grant Jr., a terrifying thought. You run a league. That just gives me the shivers thinking about it. The one rule you would change would be what?
You just talked about it. The ghost runner. Get that garbage out of my sport. Get that garbage out of baseball. Here's the thing. Baseball is one of the most unique sports out there that we have. There is no shot clock outside of the pitch clock now, right? But there is no timed game in regards to, like, there's 12 minutes in a quarter. There's 16 minutes in a quarter. Like, this is a game that is built on suspense, on what's going to happen, on adjustments, and all of these things. You know, great hits, timely hits, whatever it is. You putting the ghost runner in extra innings, you take out one element that people loved in baseball back in the days. The long extra inning games, like 14, 15, 16 inning games. Why do I need to have a ghost runner there that's going to push a runner across? This is baseball. If you want to go ahead and cap the innings at, okay, we can't go past 14 innings for the game, then do that. But I don't like this ghost runner garbage. It's not fun to watch. Every time I see it, I wince, I get upset, and I turn my TV off because I don't watch. It's not fun for a baseball fan. It's not enticing. It's not exciting. It's just basically, okay, hey, overtime rules in football. You're already on the 1 yard line. Go ahead and score. Like, who? No. Make it so guys are doing different things in extra innings. The fact that, okay, the game is tied, maybe they have to manufacture a run. Maybe a guy gets a walk. Maybe there's a bunt that gets laid down. Now there's different strategies in place. Maybe there's a double steal. Who knows what you can be able to do so you can be able to try to get the advantage. But don't give them the damn ghost runner. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And it's right on brand for the dumbest commissioner in sports. So if I was the commissioner of baseball, first off, I would make sure that Rob Manfred is somewhere where I can see him get kicked out of the building. That would be the thing. That would be the first rule that I do, the first order of business, to get his dumbass out of the sport. Then I would eliminate the ghost runner. That's it. Sick of it.
Sort of to take the other side of it, because I mentioned if you're a pitcher and Aaron Judge is up with no outs and a man on second, you're walking Aaron Judge. Let's take the other side of that. Let's say the game is tied, bottom of the 10th inning, and your number 9 hitter is up with a man on second. But get him on third, sack fly, win the game. Top of the order. That's simple. Like that's like you said, it does take so much of the I guess from a strategy perspective, I guess it's a little more interesting because see how guys tinker with the new rule. But from just a let's play the game the same way it's been played the entire time, that sort of ties in a little bit to what the rule I would change, but I'll touch on that at the end. But I think it's a solid take there by Barry. Finally, now with you, Arthur Hurst, you are the commissioner of any league you want to be commissioner of. You would change what rule?
I would eliminate take fouls altogether, Bryson. They did better with them, right? Any player can go to the free throw line for 1 free throw, you get possession. Honestly, it annoys me, right? Because when I love fast breaks, man. Look, I grew up with the Heatles, right? I grew up with the Lob City Clippers, right? I sadly grew up with the Golden State Warriors. I've seen a lot of great fast break offense, and I love it. I love it. There is nothing like watching the ball push and somebody finishes off with a dunk, or now, because in this modern day era, it's a 3. I would eliminate take fouls altogether, right? Or I would go a little bit further, kind of like how soccer's advantage play. I will let the play continue, right? Go ahead and finish out the play. And if the play does not result in points, then you get to have that free throw and you get to have the possession back. But I want to eliminate take fouls, dog, because look, defense is part of the game. And every single sport has done its best to entertain the casual fan and make offense be the standout thing. I get it, especially when you have basketball. You love to see guys dribble. You love to see guys shoot, make shots, dunk, get to the rim, to where it's like the defense, what can I do? Right? I can't do this. I can't do that. What am I allowed to do on the defensive inside of things? Defense is all about effort. Defense is all about communication. Defense is all about wanting to play that side of the ball. So if you don't want the offense to score, then you get your behind back. You run back. There's this drill that they do in basketball where they pass it to one person. That person has to run the line while the rest of his defense plays a disadvantage against the offense. And you have to run your behind back and defend. Get back to playing them drills. Get back to doing real defensive-minded IQ drills to help these guys know how to play defense the right way and to want to play defense. Because I'm tired of seeing fast breaks get cut because somebody doesn't want to play defense. Nah, dog. Get your behind back or we're going to punish you even further. That's what I would do.
That's fair, and I think that's, something that the NBA has tried to address over the last few years with making a take foul an automatic technical. But I think just in general, it sort of a little bit ties into what Paris was saying with fouling up three under whatever. Really, when the shot clock is turned off, that type of strategy that is employed across the league. I think you make a compelling case with all that. Bring Paris and Barry back in the mix. I got to say, this was a tight final round. Before I even give out the winner, here's the number one rule I would change, because I'm going to use a sport. It's not even a pro sport, but one you guys didn't even mention. The college football overtime sucks. It is terrible. The fact that, okay, you start at the 25, all of this, you have to go for 2 starting the second overtime. I know there was that awful LSU A&M game back in 2019 where both teams scored in the 70s. It was terrible. But this go for 2 from the third to overtime, that's not college. That's not football. What are we talking about? You're giving all away your 2-point plays for future games. Let's play it just like the NFL, all right? Get it, really how the NFL, the new rules go, right? Both teams get possession, and if the game's still tied, next score wins the game. If the game ends quicker, you could have, I remember there was a Georgia Tech game last year where it went to like 8 or 9 overtimes. It was just 2-point attempts. Like that's not football. So I absolutely despise that rule. I hope it gets changed at some point because it's gimmicky. It's stupid. Just do your overtime like the NFL. So off my soapbox, let's announce a winner. I'll be totally transparent. I thought Paris and Barry had the 2 best takes. Respect to you, Arthur. So I'll just, Arthur's eliminated. Paris and Barry, I thought, had the best takes of the segment. But of course, there can be only winner of the 8 o'clock spot. And the winner for episode 67 of the 8 o'clock spot is Paris Brown. Congratulations to you, Paris, getting the dub for what I thought was actually a solid take here. Paris, your thoughts on this victory on the 8 o'clock spot this week?
Man, this was just like being the Patriots. I was in the last place. I had to come back, I had to tie it up, and then in the end, I win. I go in with everybody and I win this game. Exactly what the Patriots do. I'm living their spirit. I'm winning. I got their energy, and I finally Arthur gets to come back, and I get to eliminate him. So that feels good because we haven't been on together for a while. So that also feels really good. So man, just a good win.
No question about it. And listen, that's what I told you after that first segment. You got 1 point. You had, again, by my mind's eye, the worst take of segment. Like, this is a long game. We got four segments. All 3 are excellent contestants. Paris Brown comes away with the W this week in the 8 o'clock spot. Bring Barry and Arthur back in the mix. Fellas, you guys were fantastic. It was great to be back on this show. We don't have much longer left of season 2 for the 8 o'clock spot. We're going to go all the way up to the end of the NBA Finals. But shout out to you guys. Shout out to Barry Grant Jr., the actual host of the All Even podcast and the Barry Grant Jr. Show. Check out his stuff on there. Arthur Hurst will be coming out with some stuff soon enough as our resident college football expert. Paris Brown as well. Both have been outstanding contributors to the grid. Both are our top 2-point getters on this 8 o'clock spot. It was great to be back. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll see y'all next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, live on the 8 o'clock spot. We could have an NBA Finals set by that point. Very excited to get into that. So everybody stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out.